Hey, what's up, everyone? Happy full moon and beginning of October. As we come into the beginning of October, I want to share with you my collective energy reading for the first half of the month of October, as and sharing, interpreting my take on this energy that we have in the full moon in Aries right now, as well as the runic energy that's flowing through the collective right now. As we come into October and fall, as we just had equinox and Mabon last week, we come into the season of gratitude and letting go. It is the time for connecting with ancestors and loved ones and really starting to think about what has this year brought us and how much time we have left to really accomplish what we set out to this year. That starts to wrap up, though, as we come into the fall and winter. It's not so much the time for looking at our vision boards and adding more things to it as it is for taking stock of the things that we got done and being grateful for them and starting to prepare for winter and really coming into what for some of us could be a hermit phase. But more on that later. Now, the runic energy reading that I get from this is very deep, expanding. As we move from Eihwaz into Perthro from the end of September into the first half of October. Right now, we're in Eihwaz from September 21st to October 5th, 6th. And Eihwaz is a rune of cycles, rebirth, life and death cycles. It has very much to do with Odin and his rites and trials. So we look at it as like rites of passage or letting go of things like ego death, letting go, period, across the board. And ego death, very much so. So these elements are very much at play with that. And then Perthro is very multifaceted, but its strongest components are being connected to fate, the Norns, like the Sisters of Fate, the Maiden Mother Crone energy, understanding the different phases that we go through in life, whether it would be now Maiden Mother Crone or young adolescent, midlife, older, elder wisdom. For men, that would look like page, knight, king. The point is, Perthro is about understanding the cycles that we go through in life and understanding how life fits, how would the different aspects of our life fit into our fate and our weird story that we have for ourselves. It's also very much about luck and what we bring to ourselves. So taking risks and not necessarily playing it small. So my energy reading for the two of those together, this Eihwaz into Perthro energy, is very much the end of an era. your ability to see the lessons and trials, struggles, rites of passage that we go through as not as absolutes or things that are like it's done, it's finished, but as growing opportunities, opportunities to grow through the things that you go through. And when we see it that, and when we see these struggles that way, I'm getting to like this is the end of an era or the end of a big chapter in the sense of a big conflict that you've had this year is really going to come to a close at this time in October, in the fall, during this Perthro season. It's really going to come to a head, and you're going to realize that that this situation or this the door is not closed on this situation is what I'm really getting from this. It's what I'm hearing is, and when you see it that way, when you see these situations or this particular one that you're in as an opportunity for growth, it will lead to really big expansion of not just your consciousness, but the way you perceive your fate or your life story, and how your struggles and this particular situation, if it is one that's really popping up at you when I mention it this way, fits into the grand scheme, big picture of your life. Now, as always, I have a few main points that really drive home the energy behind this, the runic energy, and the full moon in Aries in Libra season. So it's about full moon in Aries during Libra it's harmonious, the season itself. It's about peace and harmony and goodwill and gratitude and just letting go of things, but it's also about getting things done, right? And so there are some points within that. Number one being deep work. Learn to do things not in a way of multitasking, but just really let go of multitasking. If you think that you're a really big multitasker, I've been getting this message a lot lately. It's really pertains heavily to people, and myself including. I'm a huge ADHD person, and I've always loved to tell myself that I can multitask different things and always be juggling different balls and have lots of different hobbies and things on the go at once. But if you can do one thing efficiently to its completeness and then move on to the next thing, you're going to get so much more out of that, put so much more into it than if you just do a little bit. And this can really, really seriously apply to not just your hobbies, but your business or all kinds of things. It's not just work on a poem for 10 minutes. It's work on it until it's done. It's not do half of it and then go game for a little bit and like finish it. Do it all. It's and when we're looking at business, say if you're an entrepreneur or somebody who has your own small business, or just looking at your hobbies and things that you want to pursue, we can get a lot more done in a day if we have one day where you're like, okay, I'm going to spend a few hours working on this painting, or working on, or for myself, it's like, okay, I'm going to write today. I'm going to do a bunch of writing rather than, okay, well, I'm going to do half of my moon reading, energy forecast, and then do a little bit of journaling, and then go back to it, and then maybe do the dishes and come back to it later. It's like, pick a thing, get it all the way done, and see it out to its fullest. This also really comes from a book that I've been reading lately, Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's seeing something through until it's fully done. You get into flow state. And that's when you really let the energy just flow. You're doing it long enough that you're getting into flow with it, rather than doing it only until you're still in your thinking brain and then switching tasks. Do it long enough that you fall into flow. Now, number 2 is learning to put aside your pride. This, for me, has been one of the biggest lessons that I think I've really gone through this year. It's about knowing that you may not always be right. And if this goes back to that situation that you thought of when I was talking about learning through trials and growing through them, then this can be very relevant, because it's about learning to set aside your pride and know that you may not always be right. But sometimes it's about asking yourself, do I want the relationship, or do I need to be right? And that may have to do with you setting aside your ego and your pride and letting go of whatever stubbornness that you had at the time. Maybe knowing, too, that you might not get an apology right away. Sometimes you might have to be the bigger person, pick up the phone first, or be the first one to approach the situation. Take what resonates from that. Leave what doesn't. I'll share with you a little story, a short one, about putting aside your pride. My brother and I had a big falling out about 6 months ago, where I was in the wrong. I made a video of a content piece on knowing that when you're the cycle breaker and the one in the family that is trying to really do your work and find yourself in your spiritual path, and your sibling or what have you just isn't really doing that. And he got very mad at me. He took it very personally. He saw that short TikTok and he got very unhinged, and he didn't even leave opportunity to grow through conversation or humility or let me be accountable for my actions. He just said, this is like the last straw. I'm sick and tired of your high and mighty attitude and like screw your spiritual path nonsense. And he just left it at that. At the end of the message, he just said, I don't care what you have to say, we're done. And it really bothered me for a long time. I didn't know how to respond. I gave him a short response back and just said, I'm sorry you feel that way. What a Virgo way of looking at it. I'm sorry you feel that way. But over time, I realized how much I missed him. And now that my daughter was just born this week, it put a lot into perspective. That I don't want his son or my daughter to grow up without their uncles. That life is too short, and I don't want to go the rest of my life without having a relationship with my brother. So this full moon, I plan on calling him and trying to talk about what happened. Now, I can't control the outcome, but I can at least grow through that experience, let go of my pride, and realize that I'm not always right. So, number 3, you can move mountains as long as you believe in yourself. This is about dreaming, receiving the visions that you receive for yourself and taking them into action, into that Aries-like action, into from dreaming, visualizing, and then doing. It's about not just simply being a dreamer and having all these lofty dreams, but turning them into goals and going, okay, this is when I'm going to get it done, and doing it. You know, you can be a big procrastinator, and we all can. Sometimes I procrastinate the heck out of myself. And sometimes when my co-creator Raven and I create events, sometimes we'll go, oh, well, there's a lot going on in life right now. Maybe this month's not the month. Maybe next month. It gets put off. And then the real trick is seeing when to just stop putting it off and just do it. To know that the time to make the next step is exactly when you just decide that it's time. Stop wondering if it's the right moment. Stop wondering if it's the right time, and just do it. Now, we only have a few more months left of this year, but in this fall season, it's time to think about what you wanted to accomplish this year. If there were any goals that you didn't quite get done, now is that time to move that mountain, to just decide that you can, and maybe still get it done before the year is over. Now, I hope that this first half of October and this part of the fall season is full of blessings for you. That you take a lesson from the trees and learn to let go a little easier. Let go of your need to be right. Be able to put all of you into things till you find that flow. Believe in your dreams. And may you see the big picture and how your struggles fit in your story. Bye for now.